Digital 410 proudly presents the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast with your hosts Don Abernathy, Jeff Copsetta, and Henry Sledge.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast, your favorite World War II-based podcast. And we are back for another week of fun-filled World War II education and a little bit of something else. But anyhow, joining us, as always, Mr. Henry Sledge. Henry, how you doing tonight, sir?
Doing fine. Glad to be here as always.
And here he is, tuning in from Texas. He survived the ice storms, the no school, the kids being let out to drive him crazy. Mr. Jeff Copsetta. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
Good. I'm glad to be here. You know, it's always hit or miss with me on a Monday.
Happy to have you back. And tonight, Henry, why don't you introduce our guest of the evening?
Yeah, so we're really happy to have our friend Lance Faulkner from World War II Dog Tags join What's the Scuttlebutt podcast. I met Lance. I know you guys know him from your reenacting activities, but I met Lance at the 20th Symposium Band of Brothers event at the World War II Museum in August. Lance refreshed my memory. I just gotten on the elevator. We were headed down to, Everybody was heading to the bar to, have a few beers and socialize. And I think Leighton was already down there with some of the guys, and I was heading down, and you just said, "Hey, just want you to know I love your podcast."
Yep.
So we pretty much became friends right at that moment. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
I'm thrilled to have you as well, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners who are World War II living historians. I got to say, sir, I ordered these from you probably about 10 years ago now.
Wow.
So when I got into the hobby, the first set of dog tags I had were my Marine Corps dog tags. But when I started putting together my first infantry, my first ID kit, first thing I did is I reached out to my mom and I had her send me a photo of my grandfather's dog tags. He served grave registration. And so when I went on your website and had you make my dog tags, they're actually exact replica of my grandfather's dog tags with all his information. And great product. And let me just say, your website has a lot of information. I love the dog tag information page. It talks about service numbers, basically everything. If you guys have ever wondered what is on a dog tag and the year in which it's put there, you can find all that information over at world2dogtags.com. How did you get into this hobby? How did you get into this line of work?
That's a really long story, so I'll try
we
to
have all
make
night.
It fast. I got into the hobby at about 15, 16, maybe not even that old, and I was living in Houston, and I'd come across a magazine ages before the web that from the Historical Reenactment Society, when that was still a big deal. And it talked about the hobby and caught my eye. And I'd always been an airplane fanatic, still am. I talked to my dad about it, and he kind of looked at me like I had lobsters coming out of my ears and said, "If it keeps you out of trouble, that's great." And then for my 16th birthday, he got me a 98K, which was still relatively inexpensive then, and I started collecting German stuff. And I did German stuff until I went in the service, and I met some guys who were starting to do airborne stuff, which really had caught my eye because that's what it got me in the service. The book Paratrooper is what I read that book, and I said, that's what I want to do for a living. And then got into doing airborne stuff and been doing airborne stuff ever since, but have branched out and done some just generic infantryman, generic soldier type of things. And I've recently put together a Polish parachute infantry impression and a Canadian airborne impression. And if it involves falling out of an airplane, I'm pretty interested in it. So I've been doing that ever since.
Jeff and I both toyed around with that concept. We both know people who have the ability, and
I never toyed around with falling out of an airplane.
I gave it a long, hard thought, and I still want to do it. I just don't know if I could pull that string. When did you get into producing dog tags?
I was up here visiting my in-laws about 15, 16 years ago, and it's a long drive from Phoenix, Arizona to the Portland area. And my wife and I got talking, and she goes, "Well, you should make dog tags." And she was indicating I should make dog tags for dogs. And I did a bit of research while I was up here and found out dog tags for dogs was a really competitive area, but what about dog tags for people? And so at the end of that vacation visiting the in-laws, I had already sourced a set of dog tags, dog tags chains, found a machine in Phoenix. And so from about 2 weeks from the moment she said, "Hey, do this, you should do this," I was doing it. And I was in internet marketing at the time. So
There you go.
I had a website up and running in about 2 days. And within the first month, I sold my first set, and it's paid for a lot of hobby stuff since.
I don't want to do this, but I feel we need to. Can we just settle once and for all? Can you squash the horrible lore about the notch? Can we just bury the notch nonsense now? Let's just get it out of the way.
I wish I had the reason. I have. So the main machine that makes dog tags is a dressograph. And the dressograph was a company that made machines that did stampings, and before you had mimeographs and stuff like that, they would make a machine that would stamp your address, and your electric company would send you your bill, and they would use that for your address. And so the medical corps wanted to stamp forms very quickly with the soldier's information, which is why those are embossed. It goes down. And to do that, they had what's called a dressograph model 70, which is a hand stamper. And it looks like those embossing label things you had when you were a kid, but it's about the size of a 45.
Okay.
And your dog tag fits in there. And to keep the dog tag from moving side to side, it had a notch.
Yeah.
And that notch keeps it from moving side to side.
Because as one can imagine, when you're stamping aluminum, it may have a tendency to jostle a bit, which would not be very good to look at in singular. So for all those people, for some reason, I think it probably came out around Vietnam movies or whatever. You know why they got the notch in the dog? Okay, if in fact that was what they're going to do with it, they wouldn't need the notch. The notch would not help any way, shape, and form of placing the dog tag in one's teeth, etc. So I just want to get that out of the way because
I'm glad you did, Don. I had no idea.
You never heard that horrible rumor?
No. I've heard that the notch was to do that.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Oh, they're going to kick it in.
I didn't know that was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was apocryphal. I didn't know that was false.
Nope, 100% false. It's, as we said, it's to keep the dog tag from jostling in the machine and to be held into the machine.
So that's purely a machining process tool to have it lock in and it doesn't walk.
I wish I had it sitting in front of me. I got one sitting in my office. I put it in a machine and show you.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, it has nothing to do.
Henry, send me your information, your mailing address. I'll make you a set and I'll stamp it with the machine.
Hell yeah. I'll tell you what, man, make one for my kid. He'd love that.
You bet. Just send me what you want on there.
And I'll buy them from you. I'm not asking for a freebie.
When it came to researching the appropriate information, because obviously with each series dog tags, the some of that information changes from bit to bit. Where did you get started in locating that information to find out? You want to make correct dog tags depending on when they were issued. How did you go about that research?
There's a really good website called med-depot.com. That's where I started, but I also picked up a couple of books and then just some online research, and then I started collecting them. So I probably have 200 or 300 sets of dog tags, and no two are the same. So you have a format that was used from pre-war, and then you have the one that's early war, which is your name and address, and that was used up to about mid-43, and then they started to just use first name, last name, or first name, middle initial, last name, Army serial number, tetanus, and then toxoid, and then your blood type, and then down in the lower right-hand corner is your religion or faith. And they dropped all the information off your dog tags because people get captured and you start handing out all sorts of demographic information. It's a lot of intelligence there.
Well,
but I have multiples of each, and they're very different. And I had somebody ask me one time, why does your Audie Murphy tag not match the format? And I said, well, I used a photograph of Audie Murphy's dog tag that's in the Smithsonian. And then I said, but you stamp 10 million people's worth of dog tags. You make 20 million sets of dog tags. They're all different. Some private is just too lazy or in a hurry to make it. He's just going to stamp it. Whatever fits. The information's all there.
Yeah, I guess the most important part would be the service number and the first and last name. The rest of it and the blood type.
If you look at Meehan's dog tag, it doesn't have hardly any information on it either. It's his name, his ASN, blood type, and I'm not even sure his faith is on there. I'd have to go back and look.
I was saying earlier that I got my grandfather's dog tags reproduced by you many years ago. And it wasn't until I received them in the mail and I got to looking at them. Obviously, I filled out the form on the internet, but I never put two and two together because I really didn't know my family history as far as my grandmother's father's last name. And I was looking at the dog tags, and at this point, I'd gotten a little more up to speed on my family history. And I realized, and I still don't know why, but I realized because my grandfather has the early ones, and interesting, like you said, he kind of took the geographical information off them. Well, his was early enough that it still says Route 2, Walton, Kentucky. But instead of having his parents' name on there, he has my grandmother, i.e. his father-in-law's first and last name on here. And the only thing I can think of is my grandfather came from poor eastern Kentucky coal mine towns. And when he moved to Richwood, Kentucky, or Walton, Kentucky, that's where he met my grandmother, who was the daughter of a formerly well-to-do local property owner and businessman throughout Cincinnati. But as everybody else, the recession came along and they pretty much lost everything but the property. And at that time, he still owned a dairy farm, and that's where my grandfather came. He got tired of working in the coal mines and came down to Kentucky. So the only thing I can gather is that he figured if anything were to happen, maybe his father-in-law would be easier to get a hold of than his family out in the coal mine towns of eastern Kentucky. Other than that, it's a little weird to me that, or maybe they just got along a hell of a lot better than him and his old man did. I don't know the answer to that, but yeah, he actually has my grandmother's father's name of C.H. Maxwell on there instead of his last name of Woods. So that was pretty interesting to figure out.
Funny that you mentioned that. I recently remade William Wyler's dog tags from a photograph. And so he's a Memphis Belle guy, best years of our lives, Mrs. Miniver.
Jeff's eyes just lit up.
Oh, yeah. It's and so I have a buddy of mine who's really good friends with his daughter. And his daughter was the executive producer on the 1990 version of Memphis Belle. On his dog tags, he had his lawyer.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Which I thought was interesting.
Could have been the same hypothetical reason. Maybe he was easy to get hold of.
And he had no religion because William Wyler was Jewish, so he had no religion on his tags, which is common.
Yeah.
Really common. A lot of times as well, instead of H for Hebrew, they would put Catholic or Protestant on there.
Jeff, you pointed out a good observation about your dog tags, I think a week or two ago, right? About the lack of blood type or something like that?
Yeah. So, and doing my research, so I'm when I'm in my Army uniform, I wear the ones that I was issued. So watch out. I'm not correct. If you check under my underwear when I'm reenacting, then feel free to check. But I do have a World War II chain that I put them on. So at least I'm half right. But when I was making my Marine Corps tags, and Lance, I'm sorry, I think I know I've been on your site for research, but I think I used a different site to have these made. I don't think it was you.
Unfortunately, I don't do Marine Corps tags yet.
Okay.
I was going to ask if you did.
Yeah, they're really tough because there was a guy doing it. He went out of business, and I bought all his stock. So I have all the stock to do it, but I'm having to modify one of my machines to not stamp it all the way through.
Yeah, I
So
can imagine this is a whole different ball of wax here. And yeah, it was like USMC World War II dog tags, whatever it was.
yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, they had the HBT background. That's all I remember because that's where I got mine from.
Probably.
Yeah,
That's where I got mine. That's where I got my Marine ones from as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I put my name and my first middle initial, but then for my serial number, I used my grandfather's. He was in the Marine Corps 46 to 48. And it kind of made me, and on their website, they had a great information there too about if it started with whatever number, it meant that they were drafted or whatever. So I'd mentioned to Dodd when he sent me a picture of his serial number is a lot better than my serial number because my serial number didn't come out till 46. Again, feel free to reach in my shirt if you really care, right? But on the blood types, you either see O, you see A, maybe you see AB. I'm not sure. I don't know if I ever have. Probably. But you don't see O positive or O negative. And that made me do a little more digging and figured out that there was no identifier for O positive or negative at that time. So
right
to be
before
careful.
the war, it was discovered the RH factor, positive or negative, was a thing, but they didn't think it was a thing. It's like, oh, it exists, but it doesn't really matter. And so you don't see positive or negative on there. And I can't tell you, and I really need to change the website to tell people that because half the time I'm emailing somebody, do you really want this positive or negative on there? If so, it's going to be POS or NEG like they are in currently.
Right.
And it's not 100% accurate. And I would say 99% of the time they're like, take it off.
Yeah. And it's interesting. And, I think, so I'm O positive, which is fairly popular. It's great. It's great if you're a soldier,
Good
right?
one. It's a good one.
But it also means the Red Cross will be calling you every single year if you ever donate blood.
Well, I was going to say the same thing because the biggest thing I remember about being O positive was I don't know how many times being called up in the middle of the night to hop in the back of an LMTV in whatever the heck you're wearing and haul to, we were stationed in Baghdad and haul butt to the cache to donate blood to try to, help somebody that was bleeding out. So, wasn't always a good thing, but yeah, like you said, good for me. So, I just thought that was an interesting tidbit. I wanted to share it, on our social media page for the reenactors that really, really get to the nitty gritty. And it's an important piece of information. It's history, right? It's what we do.
It's right. I had a conversation. I made some tags for a movie years ago, and it was a conversation about addresses on there. And they didn't want any of the addresses on there because of legal reasons where they were filming. And then I made some for a TV show. And the plot was, and I wish they would have told me beforehand, was set around the Bataan Death March because I would have made a totally different tag than what they had ordered.
Yeah.
So they had ordered a little bit later war. I think they ordered a 41. It was a 41 to 43 era tag, but it probably more than likely would have been a 40 style. And I watched the show. I enjoyed the show, but I'm like, oh, the dog tags are wrong. The dog tags are wrong.
Well, why wouldn't they ask me before they send the order? Why wouldn't they ask me?
Who really is going to pick on that? So that
the
that
guy
kinda
who makes
reminds
dog
me
tags for a living. That's
maybe that guy.
Yeah.
So,
I'm the one guy on the planet who'd be a little upset about that.
You'd be the one guy. So, as most of the listeners know, it's been years ago now. I did some work on an independent film about war dogs in the Pacific, and I thought it would be cool for the actors I made them all a set of dog tags, but it had their character name. And then I just put the name of the film, Walking Point 2020, and I handed it all out when I met everybody when we did the big safety briefing, And of course, the guys were, "Oh man, Jeff, this is awesome!" They put it. I said, "Yeah, absolutely, put them on." And the executive producer was like, now we're not going to see where it says Walking Point 2020 on the tag, right? I'm like, lady,
Not unless
there
you do a
ain't
super
no
tight
way.
shot.
You watch the film, you tell me. So, but the guys thought it was really cool, and they could, cool little souvenir from the film,
If you
and it
want to see
added a little,
yeah. I made Hacksaw Ridge. This is what I was talking about, and they gave all the extras a set of dog tags with Hacksaw Ridge. I can't remember when it was filmed on it, but if you want to get a really good set of my work on the big screen, the guy doing chin ups, nothing else on but his dog tags. You can see my dog tags really well.
The naked
Is that
degenerate.
right, man? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know,
That's cool.
obviously none of us are phlebotomists, and yes, that's a word I know. But thinking back about it now, I wonder what the negative implications were of giving someone, because they didn't know, if they're a positive, giving them a negative blood transfusion, and if there's potentially lives could have been lost, and or they just got extremely ill from it. I mean, I wouldn't know, but that's kind of something interesting maybe to look into for a future episode to touch back on it, because I mean that's huge. The amount of men getting hit, and as rudimentary as it was, the blood transfusions they were doing, and not to have that obviously anybody who lives nowadays, you just go give blood at work or at school. That's like, something they got to know. If you don't know, they test it before obviously they issue it, but it's just interesting to think in a conflict that big, if there was any sort of negative outcome of that.
Now you got me thinking.
Yeah, we do that around here.
Certainly potential for it.
Yeah,
I've got a reenactor that's a combat medic serving currently. It may make for a good topic to have him on, because I think he would know. I think he would know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hopefully he would know.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing though. It's like we've heard stories from people, who either provide stuff for movies, or who are asked to do historical, evaluation or whatever for movies, and kind of like you were saying, it's like, why wouldn't you reach out and ask the guy you're going to order the dog tags? Hey, we're doing it this time period. Is there anything we should know, instead of issuing the order first and then it coming out? But it's just one of those things. Real quick, Jeff, you weren't here last week, and Henry, before you came on, we got to talking a little bit about Lance and I were talking about Rogue Heroes, and he told me he binge watched it twice through. And I got to talking to him, and we decided to save it for the air. As we mentioned last week, it looks like some of those scenes were shot in maybe around Cairo, or out in the desert somewhere. They didn't look like some sound lot behind Universal Studios. And Lance was getting ready to lay some information on me. I said, let's save it for the air. But you were saying some of your two guys who have a podcast, they played extras in an episode, and you got little details.
History, Living History UK is a group of three guys out of the UK. I met them through a reenacting podcast and online Zoom calls that we did during the pandemic. And give them a listen. They're really good. I'm going to give them a plug. Give them a listen. They're great guys. But they reviewed Rogue Heroes when it first came out, and favorable review. They really loved the action and how it was going. But one of the guys was in episode 2 as an extra, and they filmed it in a quarry in the UK, where they just totally redid the quarry to look like the desert.
Yeah, the bunker looks like an old ruin.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly which scene is episode 2.
Yeah,
I keep trying to spot him in the background. But some of it was definitely filmed in the UK. But I would agree, it looks like it's filmed out in the giant.
I got to get on that thing, man. I'm really wanting to check it out.
It's a fun watch. It's a really fun watch.
Yeah, like Lance and I are talking. If you're a Stitch Nazi, you may be put off. But if you're looking for a fun, action-filled show to shine some light on some history that maybe you or the general public didn't know about, it does that, and it's a good watch.
Is this like kind of a new version of Rat Patrol?
No.
Okay. This is it's streaming on MGM Plus. It's an epic picture. It's 6 episodes. It's about the forming of the SAS.
Oh,
the British paratroopers in the North African campaign.
Well, Jeff, that was my first thought when Don started talking it up last week. I was like, wait a minute, man,
Okay.
you're I'm thinking Rat Patrol here. That's what this sounds like.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
They did a
Cool.
fantastic job recreating that famous picture of them all sitting in the willies in the desert with the
Yeah,
beards
they did.
on. And if you Google it and you take a snapshot of the real, because I often wondered who the hell took that picture. Now we know, but if you actually take the real photo, then when they recreated that, and then the other thing I like too is they would quickly flash, like when they're doing the montages of them jumping out of the trucks because they didn't have planes to jump out of. They
Yeah.
would flash to actual film of the time of them training, and so you could actually see it would flash, and you could see why they were doing that in the movie and how it wasn't made up for the show. But they had a lot of cool archival footage in there as well.
And I'm of the opinion that if you don't even like the show, but if it spurs you on to learn more about the history and the SAS in any way, form, and the SAS then is very different from it is now. Then it's a great show. It serves its purpose. If it gets somebody to crack a book and learn about the originals and learn about Sterling and Patty Mayne and how their personalities really are very different in many ways than what's shown, but don't make as great television. Still incredibly interesting gentlemen.
Yeah, and I don't want to give it away.
Loosely, worth it.
I don't want to give it away, but the scene when they did their first campaign jump, that was crazy. I was like, holy hell. Now we know why you don't jump into the desert. That's all I will say. But if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go back to last episode where I was gushing all over Rogue Heroes. You can go on Amazon Prime, stream the first 2 episodes for free, and then you sign up for the 7-day MGM thing, binge watch it, and if you want, just cancel like I did. But anyhow, it's a great show. But yeah. So Jeff, what have you been having going on, fella?
Well, that's also a long story, but really just, I was telling before we came on the air, the annual air show I'm a pretty good part of is in about 5 weeks, and it's hard to believe because like you were saying earlier, we had 3 days of school that was canceled last week because we got that much ice, and it's the middle of Texas, so that's what happens.
We don't have plows.
A lot of low water crossings and bridges and all the so it is what it is, guys.
Well, be honest. The reason you guys had to cancel school is half your population wears cowboy boots, and anybody from Kentucky and Ohio knows cowboy boots and ice do not mix. You will slip and bust your ass because there's absolutely no tread on those leather soles. That's the reason why they closed out in the state.
There's only one thing worse than wearing cowboy boots in the ice, and that's jump boots. Man, let me tell you. But no, so yeah, it's crazy to think. It was like 75 degrees today. We're waiting. It's like it's spring. That's just kind of how it is here. So yeah, looking forward. So the middle of March is kind of our big spring festival. It's a week long, deal that we do our spring break, and we always have the air show at the end of spring break. So it's hard to believe in 5 weeks, and we're always the first air show of the season, around the country. We kind of kick it off, which definitely helps. Just trying to be able to get air acts to come in. You wait till April, May, or September, October, and forget it. You're competing with all the bigger ones. So we've got, it looks like we're going to have some World War II vets again. We had 9 of them show up last year, courtesy of Operation Meatball. And if you don't know that organization, you need to, if you're a World War II fan of any kind. I know the gal that runs that organization real well. I've known her for years, and what she does is just unbelievable. They're based out of San Antonio. So was actually talking to her yesterday, day before, planning some of the more solid details about my Normandy trip in June. And so, yeah, having her on board to bring some vets up is just really special. And
to have that many, I mean, let's not overlook. I mean,
Yeah,
in 2023 to have that many in one location, that is saying something.
it is, but that was in 2022, and she did tell me that was a real special air show because that was the last one for some of those guys.
Yeah.
They've since passed since then, so we'll see who we can get this year. But I know Colonel McPhail will be coming. I've mentioned him a few times. He's 100. Of course, he may be 102 by the next time I see him, but he's the last surviving World War II Corsair pilot. He served at the end of the war, and then he was with VMF 323 in Korea, the Death Rattlers. So just a super guy, sharp memory. I see him maybe twice a year and he remembers me every time. So that really tells you he is on the ball. I saw him at the Dallas Air Show in November and he was like, "Oh, I can't wait to come to your air show in March." I'm like, really? So, that and all the other things I got going on. I told you all about my new adventure with the library and all the things I got me doing there. And, so I'm sorry I can't be here every Monday night. I hate that, but right now it's a little tough. But you guys don't skip a beat without me, so it doesn't really matter anyway.
Yeah, we slow down a little bit.
You wait till I'm not here and you talk about
Yeah, we just cover the
stuff.
crap you want to talk about. We said we can't do that this week, Jeff. And as soon as you say,
Jeff's
"Hey
not
guys,
here.
I can't
Let's
come
talk
on,"
8th Air Force
I send Henry a completely different message. I say, "Okay, now we're going to talk about the stuff that Jeff has been wanting to talk about. We're going to get it off the list quick." That's how it works.
I can tell because we have for the listeners, we're like a bunch of little teenage girls. We have our little group chat, right? Little group text with the three of us, and it's blown up all week. And then I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, like I can't be there. Silence.
Crickets.
It's just Don and Henry going, okay, what are we gonna talk about now that Jeff's not gonna be here?
Yep. 8th Air Force models.
I'm just glad we've got a guest on tonight, so we don't have to pull stuff out of our ass to talk about.
Hey, we don't do that.
So Henry, just between you and I, you are working on the guy who developed, model glue to come on when the next time Jeff's not on, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Henry, what's been going on in your neck of the woods, friend?
Just plugging away. All the irons that I had in the fire are still in the fire. But just doing my thing, plugging away on my book project. That's a long haul thing, of course, but things are going fine. Busy at work.
I was thinking this would be good to hold off until our next episode because our guest that we're planning on coming on, but it would not be fair to the person who not only sent us the email, but sent the gift package over my way, and I just want to let that person know that we did, in fact, get it. And so I got it in the mail the other day. She sent the Pearl Harbor 80th anniversary lapel pin, the book Pearl Harbor Survivors, and I'll get into this more when we have our next guest coming on because he has a lot to do with what we're reading about. But she sent a great little letter on here. It says, "Hi Don, this package relates to the email that I sent on January 19th, 2023. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then I must have sent it to the wrong email. If so, let me know." And I just want to say thanks, Rona. Got the package, got the book, and she also sent some great another little flyer. It says, "This one's not from Pearl Harbor, but I live near it, and it's great World War II stuff." She sent a Port of Chicago Naval magazine pamphlet. Has information on the Port of Chicago, which is very cool. It has some information on the toll, and then another two-sided Rosie the Riveter World War II home front. It's some information about home front and basically manufacturing in the United States, and it's a two-side timeline and very cool pamphlet. So I just want to thank her very much for sending that our way, and I can't wait to jump into this book. And awesome. And go ahead,
Henry. We're doing this all wrong because if you remember when I read the email out, she said at the end that, "Oh, Jeff, I've seen your bookshelf behind you, and Henry, you've got your dad's stuff, so I'm just gonna mail stuff to Don." Yeah. So. Yeah, we're doing something wrong. I need to have a different background.
Well, I was going to say, the problem is Henry's got all that cool stuff hanging on the wall. You got a bookshelf. I got a green sheet hung over a window. If I would rotate my camera, then she'd see all my M1 helmets, my bookshelf. But no, it's a sheet. There's nothing. I'm in a room by myself.
You guys have your rooms for World War II stuff. I don't have that. I mean, I got this stuff up behind me there.
Just this stuff. My dad's shirt, his K-bar.
You don't need the room.
Yeah, I do. I'm telling you, man, all my books are in a closet. It's just I want to get that going, hopefully, one day.
Isn't that funny how it works as us men? All of our stuff gets relegated to one room or a garage, and the ladies have access to everything else. We just
see when we moved. I promised my wife I hadn't gotten back into the World War II stuff yet when we moved. 2.5 years ago, and so I promised her I wouldn't put on my World War II because I'd long since put it away. You guys know the story. And then, lo and behold, a few months after we move in this house, and here we are back in it, and I'm with doing what we do, and I'm like, damn, man, I want a World War II room again, and I've got to get my books and all, and I just hadn't figured that out yet. So
one room isn't enough. It's not. You don't get one. I mean, I have
Well.
this study, and that's nice, but I have the outdoor shed that's completely full, and I did podcasts from there. I did a couple episodes from there because there's so much stuff, and then of course my garage, and I have stuff in the museum. I have so much. I put surplus in there. Like,
if
hey,
I
we
ever
don't have one of these in the collection, I'll put that out.
My wife and I have talked about building a little outbuilding, like a nice one, and like
40
if we
by
do
60, something like that.
Yeah, with a
The half
Corsair
track
hanging
back
from
in
the
the
ceiling.
Two air
we
zones, 3 air handlers, just some basic
If we
stuff.
do that, I mean, that's mine. If we do that, and I mean, like Jeff, I'll buy some of this stuff off your hands if you've got stuff to sell, because I want to fill it up.
Yeah, I got stuff to give away. I don't sell nothing like that.
I was going to say it before you
we
know
work
it.
something out. I mean,
Before
but that's my dream is
Put a cot in there for me when I come visit you.
well, my dream is to do that and like have you guys come. Well, Don, you'd be coming up. Jeff, you'd be coming over and help me set it all up.
Oh, you want the free labor? I thought you just wanted to hang out and have some beer statement.
too.
Free manual labor. Come out, set it up. I'll watch from afar.
That's not what I meant.
Sure,
but that's my dream. It'll probably never happen.
Sorry, Lance.
Lance, you're more than welcome too. If you got a strong back and a pair of work clothes,
so
you can come out set up too.
I will watch you guys put together a mannequin. I just put together my first mannequin, and it was one of the most complicated
there goes Don.
things I've ever
There goes
done.
Don.
Yeah. Most complicated things, getting arms in and a parachute on the back and all sorts. And I was just like, oh, I need a beer after this.
I'll give you a secret.
There you go.
Mine's just a bust hanging from a metal hook, and so the pants are literally just hanging there. So all I can do is, he's only half a mannequin, but he looks like a whole one from afar. So that's
cool.
the secret.
Yeah,
just the bust and a rack.
Yeah, I've got a torso right now that's got a Polish paratrooper. He's all done up like a Polish paratrooper, but I've got my Fallschirmjäger standing in the corner of my room. I take photographs of my stuff to catalog it, and it's just like, I'm never doing that again.
I don't care how manly you.
A Polish paratrooper?
Yeah, first Polish Parachute Brigade jumped into Arnhem.
They're the ones that jump without parachutes?
I was going to say, there's a joke there.
Sorry.
Oh, you might get some hate mail for that one.
Send those emails to jeffcopsetta at cancelme.com.
Lance, I'll just say that's very esoteric.
My mom's maiden name, Godleski, came from Poland, Lithuania area, so bring it.
I or a Y at the end of that. Real quick, I do want to hear about the Polish paratroopers, but I was going to say, I don't care how big you are, how tough you are, how manly you think you are. Nothing makes you feel a little weirder than when you're trying to slide over a pair of trousers on the lower end of a mannequin. Come on. You feel like you're getting your drunk friend dressed. Come on. We had to do, it's like 4 or 5 years ago now. Me and my buddy Jerry, we got invited down to the Hilton in Tampa for the Army's birthday dinner. And they asked us to set up inside the Hilton, a D-Day display. So I got a great picture of me walking down the aisle of the hallway to Hilton with a 30 cal on my shoulder. But we had my 82nd Airborne uniform on a mannequin, and then a modern day serving paratrooper brought in his 82nd Airborne uniform, so you can see the difference. But he had it on a first aid demonstration dummy, the ones that weigh about 180 pounds. And so it did feel like dressing a drunk, like, come on, trying to get the uniform on this thing that weighs about 180 pounds. You felt like you were trying to get your passed out buddy ready for inspection. It took forever to get that damn uniform on that thing.
That's awesome.
So it could always be worse. Let's jump into it real quick. This will be interesting. Hey, Lance, what you reading?
I am reading Fierce Valor.
Nice.
About Ronald Spears. And I just finished Five Came Home over the weekend.
Is that about the war correspondence?
It's about the Hollywood directors that went to war, and there's a Netflix,
yes,
either Amazon or Netflix documentary on it. And it was one of the best books I've ever read.
Really? I saw the documentary. I'll have to get the book.
It really gets into, you really get to know each of the directors, their motivations, why they went, what they came back, and the impact. It talks talks about the impact of the war on them, which you don't hear a lot. You don't hear about the PTSD people suffered because of the war, and it really goes into that to a degree. And I appreciate the part about them coming home and getting their lives back. It's a fantastic book.
I mean,
Fierce Valor about Ronald Spears. Not a lot written about him. It's a really good read. It's I'm not going to say it's lighter, but it's an easier read than 5K Back. But both are excellent.
That's what I thought. That's Jared's book, his last book.
Is that? I was going to ask.
Yeah, I'm like,
book?
That's Jared Frederick's book. Yeah, we had him on the podcast a couple of times. He's a good friend of the show. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Did you read the book before that, the Dick Winters book?
Which one?
Hang Tough.
Hang Tough.
I have not read it yet. I have it over here.
That's a good one.
My stack about this big, I have to plow.
Yeah, the cool one about that, the source material is basically a series of letters that he wrote to a pen pal back home. And so you really get an insight on Dick Winters and how he feels about
next book.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's my next book.
Henry, what did you reading, fella?
Still reading Big Week. I've got about 100, less than 100 pages now before I finish that. And then my next thing I want to read is Hang Tough by Jared.
Yeah, it's a good read. How about you, Jeff? What you reading?
Yeah, I'm still reading Patriots, A.J. Langut's book about the men who started the revolution. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, just, getting to the heart of the American soldier from the 18th century perspective. And it's a good refresher, especially some of the history courses I'm taking right now. But I don't, before I finish a book, I always know what I'm going to go into next. And I'm a little bit torn right now because, I before this air show, I do have this Iwo Jima program we've got on 19 February. And I'm trying to, do I want to get into a book on Iwo? I have a couple that I haven't read yet, but and I'm not just saying this because of who's sitting here, but I really think I might have to do that one again.
It's always
because I've only read it once, and I'm not sure once was enough.
No,
and,
it's not.
If I'm going to read a book twice, if I'm going to take the time, because guys, you know how many I have, and I plan to read them all. So I always thought it was kind of silly to read the same book twice. But there's probably less than 5 that I have read twice. And I think that one definitely is probably going to be the next read. Cause, knowing Henry now on a more personal level, I think it's going to be a different experience for me. I read the Pacific, Hugh Ambrose's before the miniseries, well, not before the miniseries came out, but before I saw the miniseries, I read the book and I was, okay, I need to get all these. And so I read it then right after probably seeing the miniseries. But now, oh my gosh, the amount of information that's rattling in my brain now compared to then, it's going to be like reading it for the first time. So that's probably going to be the next read.
I strongly suggest, not only for you, but for all of our listeners, With the Old Breed is definitely a multi-read book. I've read it probably 4 times, but A Helmet for My Pillow is another multi-read book. I can't tell you how many times I've read that one, especially after I read Strongman Arm, because Robert Leckie rewrites some of that stuff from A Helmet for My Pillow, but he does it in third person instead of first person. So when you're reading it, he'll say a Marine did this, or a Marine said, you're like, oh, he's talking about himself, but in this book, he's doing it in third person instead of first person.
Huh.
But yeah,
I have read Helmet. I mean, I have that and I've read it, but I also have his book. I guess it's just called Okinawa. You familiar with that one?
Leckie?
Yeah.
I know.
And I haven't read it.
Did he do Okinawa?
I'm looking.
Because that was after him. He Peleliu
Yes,
was
he
his
did.
last hurrah.
He did Helmet for My Pillow, Strongman Armed, and Okinawa, and Challenge for the Pacific, and the Story of World War One. He also did.
So that's it
Okay.
there.
Okay.
The last battle of World War II, Robert Leckie.
Interesting. I need to check that one out.
I've never read it, and I'd like to, but yeah. So I don't know. I'm torn. I may go back and forth. I may be reading with the old breed. I may be looking at an Eric Hamill coffee table Iwo Jima book because see if I can pull this around a little bit. That's the uniform I'm setting up to wear for the Iwo Jima program in February. That's an officer. It's all original. I have a first Mardiv patch on it. In fact, I was talking to Scott Gibson the other day. I said, "Hey, I'm going to do my best ACAC here in a couple of weeks," and he's, "Oh, that's pretty cool." But of course, for an EWO program, I don't know. I may have to put a fifth Mardiv on there and change my ribbon bar a little bit. That's got three campaign ribbons on there, so I have to maybe do a little tweaking on it. But we'll see.
I envy you for that because, like, the only way I would ever fit into an original uniform is if it was that 1 7-foot German that you often see photos of. Because I'm 6'5", and I've been to some cool sales, and I'm like, no, this Eisenhower jacket don't fit. No.
Yeah,
it's like,
I am pretty lucky in that aspect. I mean, 5'11", 180, size 9 boot.
Just like everybody else.
Average.
Just like everybody else, except I will say there's the one part of an original uniform that is hard for me is I feel like guys back then did not have shoulders.
Yes.
That's about the only problem that it's a little tight sometime in the shoulder up under the armpit, but other than that, that's
I'm not as you guys know,
problem.
I'm not a reenactor guy. I love the uniforms and all, but if I ever did, I'm the exact same size that Chesty Puller was.
Really?
No kidding.
5'8", 170.
No kidding.
165, 170.
With a 63-inch chest, right?
And a big jaw.
Well, the good news is P-41s are kind of baggy anyhow, especially after the guys lost all the weight. So you can just,
right.
That's super easy to wear. So I'm still reading The Longest Day, which I've got to say, this is a fantastic read. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to like ruffle any feathers, but it's like, why did they name the movie after this book? Because this is far superior. But anyhow, it's a good book. But Jeff was talking about trying to.
Did I send you that one?
Yes, you did. This is from the Jeff
I think you sent me a copy of
collection.
It too.
I had 3 or 4, yeah.
And I did reapply the cover to Wings of a Prayer, which I'm going to be sending out to Henry this week because he wants to read that one. So that's from the Jeff Copsetta library as well. So that's getting the well-rounded, well-read event. But as Jeff was saying earlier, when you're reading a book, you kind of think about what you're going to read next. And back to what Lance was saying earlier about Rogue Heroes, I'm thinking about I might have to go out and pick up a book on the SAS because I am extremely interested in that whole area. Because that's the one area I do a lot of reading on PTO and ETO, but like North Africa, that whole area, that whole campaign, I've done very little. I know very little about. So I think that may be a good segue into that whole campaign and go down that route. But we want to hear from you guys. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but please send us an email to mailcall@WTSPWWII.com. Let us know what you want us to talk about. And all that good stuff. Comments, questions, criticisms from what Jeff said about the nice Polish paratroopers earlier. We'll get all that stuff in. And while you're at WTSPWorldWar2.com, please click on the Patreon link, sign up, and subscribe. And if you haven't done so, please head over to YouTube, look for the Digital 410 YouTube channel, and you can watch us live stream every Monday. And now that I got all the shameless plugs out of the way, before we wrap it up, I was serious. I do want to hear a little bit about the Polish paratroopers and at least one of the campaigns they participated in.
Oh wow! Put me on the spot here. It's an incredibly interesting story about, and I've really only recently gotten into them in the last year or so. I mean, if you've seen A Bridge Too Far, you've seen Gene Hackman play Sosabowski. And seen them a little bit, but they were a arm of the Polish military that was formed in the UK and mainly up in Scotland. That was originally formed as part of the government in exile to be returned to Poland and fight in Poland. they fought to maintain that autonomy for a very, very long time. And as Market Garden was approaching, finally the Polish government in exile said, attached them to Montgomery. And they jumped in. Their only combat jump in World War II was into Arnhem on the other side of the river. They crossed the river that night on rubber boats and were part of the defending force to help the British paras evacuate over the river. And most of the Polish got away and evacuated. And then they spent the rest of the war fighting alongside the Polish Armored Division in occupation of northern Germany. Fierce reputation as fighters, just fierce. All of them had escaped. The Nazis had definitely no love for them, for sure. And you just don't know a lot about them. And so after I finished my Canadian impression, what's next? What do I start collecting next? And what do I start building out next? And so that just seemed to be natural. So I thought about doing a British impression, but the Canadian and British are so close.
Mm-hmm.
The Polish are slightly different. Their uniforms are a little bit different. They are British uniforms, but they also had a mix of American stuff in there. And what's really interesting about the Polish is they didn't go through British jump school. Some of them did initially, but they set up their own jump school to qualify their paratroopers. And they had to be awarded their wings. Not only did you have to complete the training, you also had to complete a probationary period with the unit, and you could lose your wings if you weren't up to snuff. And so that was just incredibly interesting to me.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of information on it, but from what I've gotten, I was like, or been able to find, like, these guys are badasses, man. I got to learn more about these guys.
That is interesting. And, I know there's probably quite a few stories, probably not enough. They were excellent pilots that flew during World War II, pilots, both for the British and, of course, for us, right? I mean, our highest scoring ace in ETO, Gabby Gabreski.
Yeah.
But, just learning. I think it was probably from an Alex Kershaw book that I read about the Poles at Battle of Britain and the Polish squadrons in the RAF. And, yeah, I mean, it's definitely an overshadowed piece of history. It's a big part of history, especially for those guys. So that's really cool that you're keeping it alive, and that's really cool. You can be like Don here and do the whole 101st thing. Nobody does the 101st.
I do 82nd
I do the 101st.
I got 82nd Airborne, but go ahead.
All American, same, whatever.
Yeah, I do 101st because I was in the 501st when I was in the service.
See, that's okay for you. Yeah. You are a real puking chicken. I was first Cav. I had to throw that.
Well, I was thinking when you're talking about, government in exile and being a soldier for, kind of a soldier without a home, as for mentioned previously the Rogue Heroes, about how the French paratroopers were kind of, stepped in joined up with the SAS. You're saying how they were such, diehard great soldiers. It's kind of like, well, at that point they had nothing to lose. Their home is essentially gone. They've been, overran by Germany and, the Weimar Republic and the SS and all that for so long. It's like, if you're looking for some badass group of special forces, if you will, why not a group of guys who have nothing to lose? They've already lost everything. Only thing they have is themselves and, their mission. And the desire, I mean, who has more desire to kick someone out of a country than the people who have been essentially kicked out of their own? And, that's just a tremendous history. And as Jeff said, not only to keep it alive, but that's just another one of those cool little things at a living history event or, on a website, a picture for whatever, just, oh, wow, I've never seen that before. And like you were saying, it's also cool to think, too, that since they didn't really have a military at that point, they were able to choose the best of the equipment that they wanted. Instead of being issued, we got this contract for the lowest bidder. We're going to take this.
Case, it was just whatever junk people would give them.
Yeah.
initially. It was, that's one of their complaints. Or learning as I learned about them, the Brits didn't know what to do with them, so they just gave them, "Oh, we don't need this stuff. Go use it. You guys can have it." Some of the American stuff they had was uniform wise and things like that, like their skirts and some of their
better footwear.
But yeah.
But I think that's just about wrap it up for this episode of the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. And if you are getting into living history or you need another pair of dog tags, I know a fine place you can go. Head over to WorldWar2DogTags.com and tell Lance that we sent you. And just as a howdy ho and a nice to see you. And Jeff, you got anything coming down the line you want to promote other than your upcoming event?
Pearl Harbor program, 19th February with our friend Dennis Blocker. Hope to have him on again to talk some movies and his new book. And then, air show in March. And then over the Great Blue for me for a few weeks in the summer.
Let's have you check in from there. How about you, Henry? Got anything coming down the pike?
Yeah, actually, so the 18th, going to be on a podcast, We Happy Few with Leighton and Matt Leach, their podcast with Saul David. But I bring that up especially after talking Rogue Heroes because I want to ask Saul if he could put me in touch with Ben McIntyre.
Yes,
I met Ben in November, and he wrote the book Rogue Heroes. So I'm going to work that angle. But yeah.
Lance, anything else you want to get in there? Anything coming down the pike? Social media stuff or anything?
No, I'm just excited for April and jumping out of planes again. But other than that, that's the big stuff on my calendar.
Is that a dog behind you? I saw something waggling on the couch.
Probably.
Yeah,
Probably.
We're big fans of dogs here. What kind of dog you got there, fella? We could have done like 40 minutes on your dog.
A American Eskimo, Chow, Australian cattle dog mix. He's 13.
Nice.
He goes from loving dog to cranky in about 2 seconds. And then probably sleeping on my bed is my Staffordshire Terrier.
Oh, he's a good boy.
And you can hear Muck.
Yeah. I got Bailey over here snoring on the floor because it's about time for us to wrap it up. But I want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you for coming on, Lance. And as always, we will talk to you all next week.
This has been a Digital 410 production.